President Benton, today it is my privilege to present a true Renaissance woman of the 21st century, a diplomat, an attorney, a teacher, a business leader, an administrator of federal agencies, and in the diplomatic corps, the Honorable Barbara McConnell Barrett served as our U.S. Ambassador to Finland and appointed to the office of President and CEO to the American Management Association in New York. Prior to her work in diplomatic service, Ambassador Barrett enjoyed a rich and varied career, both as an administrator for the FAA and the Civil Aeronautics Board, and in the legal profession as a law partner at Evans, Kitchell, and Jenks in Arizona, and as counsel for such Fortune 250 companies as Greyhound, Southwest Forest Industries. Ambassador Barrett is an accomplished aviator and the first civilian woman to land an FA-18 Hornet on an aircraft carrier. She is the recipient of many awards, including the ABA's Sandra Day O'Connor Excellence Award, the Woodrow Wilson Award for Corporate Citizens, the Medal of Honor from the Daughters of American Revolution, and the Horatio Algiers Distinguished American Award. President Benton, it is truly my honor to present the Honorable Barbara McConnell Barrett, a woman of many firsts, and especially in the hearts of her devoted husband, Craig, and their family, for the Pepperdine University's preeminent distinction, the Honorary Doctor of Law degree.
Thank you, Ambassador Holden. Barbara McConnell Barrett, because of your distinguished service to our country as a diplomat and ambassador, enriching the world's understanding of the American way of living, a life of freedom, of responsibility, and of compassion, because of your determination to live a life of firsts, the first woman to serve as the Deputy Administrator of the FAA, the first woman to run for Arizona Governor, the first woman to chair the Advisory Commission on Public Diplomacy, among many, many other things that you've done and done very well. Because of your willingness and generosity in sharing freely your wisdom, expertise, and broad experience as a mentor and educator, and as a speaker and presenter both here and in more than 40 countries around the world, and because your life, filled with rich and varied experience, challenging accomplishments, countless meaningful connections, and daring attempts to break barriers and exceed expectations, is an inspiration to all of us, especially our students, by the authority vested in me by the Pepperdine University Board of Regents. I now confer upon you the Honorary Doctor of Laws degree with all the rights, all the duties, and all the privileges thereto appertaining. Congratulations.
President Benton, today it is also my privilege to present a man who has led a company world-renowned for its very small things, and the Intel Corporation, the developer and supplier of silicon microchip technology to computers and communication devices across the globe. Dr. Craig R. Barrett served as chair of Intel from 2005 to 2009, and Dr. Barrett enjoyed a 35-year career at Intel and joining the company in 1974 after leaving a professorship at Stanford in materials science. He rose to the rank of COO, CEO, before assuming the chair of a technology giant with more than $34 billion in annual income. Dr. Barrett is widely recognized for his contributions to his profession. Among his many accolades are the Founders Medal from the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, the Council of Scientific Society President Support of Science Award, the Award for Leadership from the Institute of Health and Productivity, and the National Science Board Public Service Award, among many, many others. And Dr. Barrett is an unqualified supporter of K through 12 education, serving as co-chair of both Achieve Inc. and Change the Equation. He is also the chair of Basic Schools, a charter school system with 10 nationally ranked high schools. Dr. Barrett also leads 2 international entrepreneurship organizations, the Skolkovo Foundation and the Irish Technology Leadership Group. President Benton, it is truly my honor to present Dr. Craig R. Barrett, proud father of current Graziadio student Don Barrett, and devoted husband to Barbara McConnell Barrett, for the Pepperdine University's preeminent distinction, the Honorary Doctor of Laws degree.
Thank you again, Ambassador Holden. Craig R. Barrett, because of your accomplishments as a scientist and engineer, living a life dedicated not only to your understanding of the physical world in which we live, but applying that understanding to create works and artifacts of great utility and tremendous benefit to mankind. Because of your career as a professor and scholar, advancing the body of what we know to be true through your many writings and in your work as a teacher and mentor, and because of your lifelong connection to the community through tireless service on boards that serve to educate the youngest members of our society, those in the grades K through 12, and because your example of your business vision and exemplary leadership at one of the nation's finest and most successful enterprises, and the example of your devotion to the spirit of entrepreneurship are an inspiration to us all, especially our students. Therefore, by the authority vested in me by the Pepperdine University Board of Regents, I now confer upon you also the Honorary Doctor of Laws degree with all rights, privileges thereto appertaining. Congratulations, sir. And we're all seated and you're on.
President Benton, Dean Livingstone, friends, and especially students, and now soon to be graduates. This glorious morning, we celebrate the most significant educational milestone to date of your lives as you graduate from Pepperdine University's Graziadio School of Business and Management. As we gather on this magnificent campus with its sparkling buildings and incomparable views, it's good that we celebrate with some reflection on the challenges overcome to get to this point. Per aspera ad astrum. You may know this Latin couplet that means from hardship to the stars. It has been used by Kansas State as a slogan for its state. It's been used as a Star Trek patch, and from a play title in To Kill a Mockingbird to the memorial for the ill-fated Apollo 1 and for the Horatio Alger Association that has honored the namesake of this school. It applies to Pepperdine and to you graduates as well. Per aspera ad astra, from hardship to stars. Pepperdine University might adopt this Latin phrase as its motto. Pepperdine's original campus location and financial woes would have shuttered a less determined college. But from those hardships, Pepperdine reached for the stars. And overcoming those early challenges, Pepperdine has prospered to national prominence in academic excellence, ranked among the top 11 MBAs in the West, as well as athletic prowess here in this building, national championships in everything, it seems, except football. And most importantly, in student achievement, with 17 Fulbright scholars in the past 3 years, quite a remarkable record. And internationally, well, Pepperdine boasts an international presence that would be envied by even the largest universities. Facilities in Buenos Aires, Lausanne, Shanghai, and alumni in at least 70 nations, they give Pepperdine reach, well, if not to the stars, at least around this planet. As Pepperdine approaches its 70th anniversary, it has come from hardship and it has received stardom. Per aspera ad astra, from hardship to the stars. But this university isn't the only example of overcoming hardships here today. Graduates, we congratulate your achievement. We're conscious that none of you earned this degree without facing daunting challenges that would have stopped a less determined student. But you overcame those challenges, and today you launch your new life with that well-earned degree that will open new doors and offer deeper insights. Now, when you leave this hall with your degree in hand in a few minutes and you take those first steps into that new life, I have a suggestion for the next phase of your life. With the combination of your December graduation and the holidays and the new year, you might take some time to start your personal life list. Write down a life list. What are the things you want to achieve in your life? What do you want to build, cure, discover, or create? Where do you want to go? What do you want to see? Who do you want to help? And what do you want your life to mean? Make a list and begin making those things happen. In developing your life list, consider categories relevant to your personal values. What are your values with regard to your family, to your faith, to your friends, your education, your finances, your community, and importantly, to yourself? Use your life list to set goals, professional goals, of course, but not just in your profession, in your life. Each year, review and revise that list and use your life list and your goals from the previous year to guide your priorities for the coming year. You have overcome personal adversities to get to this degree. Today, you are the stars. Per aspera ad astra, from hardship to the stars. Starting today, your life is backed with the assurance of integrity, ingenuity, and professional excellence that comes from the Graziadio degree from Pepperdine University. Use it to heal hearts, to stir souls, and to touch lives. Thank you.
Seems I'm always following my wife somewhere. Mr. President, Dean, distinguished faculty, and administrators here at Pepperdine, graduates of this class of 2010, let me offer you my congratulations. Your hard work, the education sector here is bound to do you well in the future, and especially as you enter a world which is a little bit confusing to many of us. There is still ample opportunity in the world, but at the same time, the world seems confused in a certain degree of chaos. But regardless of that environment and the world that you enter, I think your education here will serve you very well. I'd also like to offer my congratulations to the parents, relatives, friends of the graduates here. There may be a few of you in the audience who can now stop making those down payments on your child's future. For the graduates, I want to offer you a little bit of advice that perhaps you can use as you go forward. And for the past several years, you've studied at this fine university. You've studied under the guidance of professors who know their subject matter very well. You've read the great books, you've done the problem assignments, you've submitted papers on those esoteric topics. You studied and passed myriad exams. And along the way, you've heard the words of wisdom from your professors, advisors, administrators, and others. Today, I also want to give you a few words of wisdom, some advice that can help shape how you go forward. And by the way, I think you've heard some excellent advice from the previous speakers, and you'll see a bit of redundancy in our comments. My words of advice are not going to come from the great books or the learnings that you're used to, but they're going to come from the ultimate source of wisdom. It's a source that we quite often commonly consult. And in fact, in my 35 years in the high-tech field, I consulted it quite often. I've never known these words of wisdoms to be misleading or false. They're always apropos to the subject at hand. They are always true pearls of wisdom to follow. This source of ultimate wisdom is, in fact, the Chinese fortune cookie. And what I want to do today is to give you 3 of these pearls of wisdom that I've come across in the last 2 decades, my professional career. And I believe that they're very pertinent for you today as you enter this confusing world. Now, I realize that this approach may be a bit unconventional, and especially for an address of this type, but I guarantee you, as you leave this audience today, it will be easier for you to remember these 3 Chinese fortunes than to recall the results of the last examination you took or the paper that you wrote. And if you can recall them easier than perhaps the second law of thermodynamics or the writings of Peter Drucker, they may come of use to you in the future. But let's get started. First fortune comes from my favorite Chinese food restaurant, Chef Chu's, on El Camino Real in Silicon Valley. It's very appropriate for today's gathering because this fortune reads, "The world will always accept talent with open arms." And you can rephrase that and replace the word talent with education, and perhaps even more importantly, replace it with education and passion for what you do. To get through school here, you have studied hard and you have obtained that education. And as you move forward, there'll be the opportunity to apply it. But to be successful, you'll need to use just more than that education. You'll have to be passionate about what you do. And you'll also have to keep adding to that educational background. I think you all are aware of this, but the education you've had here is just the first few steps of your professional career and your education going forward. We used to tell the engineers as they came in to work at Intel Corporation, you've graduated from the finest universities, but unfortunately the half-life of what you were taught in the university in the fast-moving high-tech field is about 5 years or less. And therefore, continuous learning is important, continuous learning is necessary. But I want to emphasize that the passion with which you apply that education, that learning, is even more important. There's a lot of talk in the world today about offshoring and jobs moving out of the United States and other developed countries, and what you should major in fact, to have a secure employment for the rest of your life. And I really think that these discussions are bogus, because I really do believe that if you get a good education and you have passion for what you do, the world will always accept you with open arms. And you can be a poet, a physician, a physicist. You can be anything you desire to be and be very successful if you have the best education, continue to apply yourself, and have passion for what you do. The second fortune comes from the Golden Phoenix restaurant, my hometown of Phoenix, Arizona. This fortune has to do with competitiveness and the concept of competitiveness. And in fact, this is competitiveness at the individual level, at the corporate level, and at the national level. The fortune states very simply, you cannot win unless you choose to compete. Today, we all know that there's increased competition in the world. We know this from Tom Friedman's book and Clyde Prestowitz's writings and others, that 3 billion new capitalists have joined the world. The good news and bad news there is that 3 billion new capitalists from China, India, Southeast Asia, Russia, Eastern Europe, Middle East, Latin America are potential customers, but they're also potential competitors. We also know that just because you are number one, that does not guarantee you to be number one tomorrow. The banners around this room signifying athletic success here at this fine university show where we've had number one teams, but that did not guarantee similar ranking the following year. And this is one of the challenges that some countries and some states have as they move forward, and some corporations as well. This concept that we have been number one, therefore we can continue to be number one without choosing to compete. In the 20th century, the United States did an exceptional job in terms of education, research and development to grow the largest economy in the world, number one in gross national product, essentially number one in standard of living, wealth creation. But today there's increased competition for that number one position. And you have to ask continuously, where will those next smart people, where will those next smart ideas come to continue this historical progression of wealth creation to keep us number one? We're currently struggling with this issue in the United States, and in fact, my state of Arizona, state of California are struggling with this issue. How do you stay number one? I think the concept of competition is very important to us. We know as a country, K through 12 education is mediocre at best. The latest OECD rankings just came out earlier this week and placed the United States again in the lower half of the OECD countries in preparing our young people for their future. We know that in the 20th century, we spent twice as much as a percent of GDP on research and development in the United States, creating the next generation of ideas for products, companies, services. We have to recognize that the world has changed and that we must change in accordance. We must recognize that if we want to be number one, we must choose to compete and to continue to compete. My final fortune cookie has to do with individual initiative, something you've already heard about this morning. You know, sometimes in life we grow to depend on other people to solve our problems. You know, there's no shortage of challenges in this country, in this state, or around the world today with challenging problems, and there's no shortage of massive government programs to attack those challenging problems. But this fortune cookie, the last one is the key, comes from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. In fact, I lied a little bit. It's not really a fortune cookie. When I came back to my hotel room one night, there's this little thought for the evening that sits on your pillow, but it's almost like a fortune cookie. And it addresses this challenge of individual initiative and solving the world's problems in the following way. The fortune states, a small deed done is better than a great deed planned. And if you think about that for a moment, it seems fairly obvious. Most of the good things in life come from one person helping another, one person's efforts to change something, to improve it. And whether this is a teacher helping a student, whether this is a doctor helping a patient, whether this is someone providing a microloan to an entrepreneur somewhere in the world to start a business, those small deeds done, one deed at a time, are in fact what changes the world. The great deeds planned we're familiar with as well. United Nations Millennium Development Goals, which we hear constantly from UN headquarters about. What we hear from our own government here in the United States on how to solve the Social Security Trust Fund problem, how to solve health care. These are all great deeds planned, which hardly ever result in any physical action on the ground. It's self-initiative. It's the individual doing the work that moves the world forward. It is not sitting back and waiting for a government or some other body to solve our problems. I think it's important for you as you either join the professional world or return to the world that you worked before you came here as students, that you always realize that it's your individual actions which will move us forward. And they are much, much more important than the great deeds planned. Let me end by wishing you the best in your career. You know, there are only two things that once gained can never be taken away from you. They are your education and your personal integrity. Cherish both of these qualities and make the most of them as you move forward with your life. Congratulations again, and good luck.